Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for joining our March Klamath Film member meeting. This is intended as a monthly networking event for Klamath Film members, but also public is welcome. I see a lot of regulars and some new faces too, which is wonderful. Normally we do this each month. Next month, we're going to go back to doing it in person. We will still have the online aspect for those who can't join in person. And we will have guests again going forward, but tonight we're just going to do an opportunity to network, talk about some of the things that are going on, talk about some upcoming events, and watch a couple of films tonight. So we have a film that Tom Cooley down there helped make, and we also have a new film by Cassie Christorf, our new assistant executive director. So we're going to watch both of those and a couple of other things to go through. I have some announcements as well. But we always start off these meetings with introductions, even though just about everyone knows everyone here for the most part. But still, I'm Kurt Lidke. I'm the former executive director of Klamath Film. I'm now the board chair of the organization. I am a filmmaker. My full-time job is as videographer and photographer for Klamath Community College. I make video all day long and then come home and talk about video. I'm also a commercial drone pilot for both aerial and underwater. I'm probably the only person in Southern Oregon who owns a submarine where I can film 4K underwater. And I'm a massive movie buff and music fan. That's me. Olivia, since this is your first meeting, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name isn't Jimmy, it's Olivia, by the way. I am actually moving to Klamath Falls currently, and I'm a big film fan. I love film festivals. I love what they do, and I'm a film major from University of Oregon. I've worked on like student films there, and also worked on film festivals at University of Oregon. Currently do sales and marketing at a hotel, but film has always been my passion, so I'm excited to be here and meet everyone.
Welcome.
Terrific. John, why don't you introduce yourself?
Well, I'm just a native, more or less. I've kind of gone other places throughout the years, to California, Utah, Idaho. I mean, I'm just kind of a West States guy, but I didn't really grow up in the film industry per se, but I don't know, it's just a passing interest of mine. And, you know, I hope to make something someday, but I figure the thing that's been eating on my brain is try to make some sort of cyberpunk movie. So, you know, I just got too much of that hackers and Matrix and everything else in the brain. So maybe, you know, I keep writing down ideas when they come, but it's something down the road. Right now I'm trying to take care of my mom's estate. She passed away in December, and don't worry about giving me condolences. It's all good. And just, you know, so once my life gets settled again, then I can kind of see what my options are going forward, and hopefully I can work a little bit more on this project. And of course, I'm also hoping that, Tom, that your movie is going to be the comedy you've been telling us a little bit about.
I think Kirk's got a different one in mind.
Okay, well, it's all good.
Cassidy, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everyone. I'm Cassidy. Nice to see some new faces, some old faces here. I'm the assistant executive director right now of Klamath Film. We just started in January, so still kind of getting a hold of things. We moved here 2 years ago, almost in July, and I'm from the East Coast, so learning a lot. And yeah, the film tonight is my first film that I've ever made, unless you count Ultimate Frisbee highlights for my husband, so I don't think that counts. But so I'm totally welcome to any feedback and things like that. I'm really interested in environmental documentaries and everything, so yeah, it's nice to see everybody. And John, I can relate with the estate issues. I've been doing that with my dad, and it's
I know it's well, welcome
hard
to the West Coast.
Thank you.
You know, hopefully people are a little more friendly than what I always hear about the East, how they're so standoffish.
Well, I'm from Tennessee, so
okay, that's not quite
we
East
have like
to me.
shrimp and grits ready for you when you're
Oh, good. Got some of that
strangers.
southern hospitality.
Yeah.
Well, on a quick little side note, I feel your pain on that and dealing with estate stuff. We had a double whammy when my father passed away. He actually died at our family reunion
Oh boy.
in front of everybody.
Oh no.
And it was the one weekend, like my family's scattered all over the world. My sister lives internationally, and then like we have people all over. And so every year we'd get together for this one weekend in my dad's hometown, and he passed away there the one time he was there. The crazy part of that was that my parents had driven up from Eugene, and my mom had a torn rotator cuff in her right shoulder, and their vehicle was a stick shift.
Oh no.
And so my mom had no way to lift her arm, much less be able to drive home after the, so not only were we dealing with the shock of my dad, who was very healthy, very active. So it was total stunner when he passed away, but then figuring out now, how the hell do we get my mom back to Eugene, because she can't lift her arms in a sling. She can't drive a stick right now. So it was this whole kind of comical thing, like, okay, what do we do since my dad isn't here to drive back to get the car back and get her home and figure out what we're going to do. So it provided a little bit of, comedy in the midst of this big tragic moment. So yeah, just as an aside. Mary Jane, are you with us? Mary Jane, can you hear me?
Yes, you're on mute, Mary.
Yeah, if you're trying to talk, you're on mute. Or you're not there, one of the two. Why don't we come back to you? Joyce, and I think Howard's lurking off to the side. Isn't
Here.
he? Hey,
Home.
Sure.
There he is.
Why don't you two introduce yourselves?
I'm Joyce Dickens, a local photographer, digital artist, and acrylic artist. Member of the Klamath Art Association and the new secretary of Klamath Film. And we moved here in June of 2019, actually June 1st. So kind of newbies here in the area, but love it. And really enjoy being a part of Klamath Film. Not really being associated with anything film-wise in the past. It's been a real learning experience for me, though Howard has tons of experience as a documentary photographer and all of that, which he can tell you about. I'm going to turn it over to Howard.
Howard Stapleton here. I've been back home just since Monday after 6 months in LA. A former retired documentary photographer, about 30 long form docs aired on the public television network, among other things involved in production engineering. Clearly not a lighting director.
It sucks.
Anyway, we're here in the falls, enjoying a magnificent house 10 miles out of town among cattle and sheep ranches and horse ranches, and 3 marvelous cats in the house who will prance across the screen from time to time. And it's good to be here with you, and back to you, Kurt.
Yeah, good to see you again, Howard. We'd missed you the last couple of meetings. And
Thank
then we also have Tom Cooley. Hello, sir. Always good to see you.
Well, it's always good to be here. I just got off the phone with Wayne. He's going to be joining us shortly. He totally spaced off the meeting tonight.
Oh.
I'm all excited. I'm going to St. Louis, hopefully, knock on wood, this month to a convention called Trans World.
Mhm.
And these are the people who make audio animatronics for amusement parks and special effects design structures for films and things. And I'm really looking forward to going there and seeing this type of thing. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to be but it's one of the largest types of conventions in the world, I'm told. And I'll be there for 4 days. So I'll have to, if I find anything interesting, I'll have to pass that on to the group here.
Well, and
Where do you live now, Tom?
I'm right in smack dab in the middle of Klamath Falls.
Oh, I thought you'd moved away. I didn't know
I
you're still
did.
here.
I did
Oh.
a couple of, about 8-9 years ago. I moved to the East Coast, New Jersey. I recommend not doing that for people. But I moved back 2.5 years ago, and I've slowly gotten up and running again. Of course, like it has affected all of us. The COVID has really kind of slowed things down, and that's why you haven't seen much of me. I couldn't do much because everybody was masked and running around and hysteria and all this stuff. But that's hopefully coming to an end, at least the hysteria point of it, and the masks, and we can get rolling again on other productions. In fact, I don't know how many of this group went to the auditions for Nick. Oh Lord, what was his name? He had an audition here over this last weekend. I went.
Nick Alexander.
There we go. Thank you. Couldn't think of his last name. And I think it went well, but he's as it is when you do auditions as the person auditioning, you're sitting on pins and needles one way or the other until you hear what's going on. And he said this weekend, hopefully he'll have his cast figured out. So I'm hoping for it. And even if I don't get into production, I offered, if I can help in any other manner, let me know. So I'm hoping to be involved in at least on some level with it. So we'll see how this all goes. Things are starting up to pop here in Klamath Falls. I like seeing stuff like this. More production work. That's what we need.
Mary
Back to
Jane,
you, sir.
are you back with us? Hello, Mary Jane. If you are, please unmute and introduce yourself. Unmute, please. Mary Jane, you're muted.
There's a mute button down in the lower left or something.
Just a little slow. Just a
There you
little
got
slow.
it. You got it. Yay.
Hello.
Hi. I'm a little bit late. Dinner got just a little bit behind. So I'm here.
Well, you want to introduce yourself? We do have some new folks.
Oh, sure. I'm Mary Jane, and we've lived in Klamath Falls for about 12 years. I just am interested in film. I enjoy it, and have 5 sons. I'm somewhat of an artist and write a little bit. Nice to meet you. Oh, excuse me. I'm going to mute myself. Something happened.
It's okay.
A lot of background here.
Nice to see you as always. Thank you for joining us, Mary Jane. Appreciate it. Okay, so if more people join, we'll give them an opportunity to chime in as well. I do have some announcements and some things to cover. And like I said at the start, we are going to watch some films tonight as opposed to having a guest. But before I delve into that, does anyone have any announcements or any sort of projects they want to talk about or any films they've recently seen that they really loved? There's been all sorts of new stuff coming out that I've been really enjoying.
Mhm. I've got one ready to roll. I just got to find the cast for it. I got the location and everything. It's called The Fear of Mankind. It's a short film. Probably won't run more than 8 to 10 minutes in length. So that'll be hopefully getting some motion here fairly soon. I've just got to find the cast. It's going to take about, what was it, 8 people for it. It'll be a fun film when it's done. So
Great.
that's ready to go.
Anyone else have something they want to share?
Interesting thing, Kirk. I saw recently on Spectrum TV a list of what they call the top 40 films from the last decade.
Okay.
And the 4th one was one they identified as Meek's Journey, which looked an awful lot like Meek's Crossing.
Cut off. Yeah.
We've been seeing here recently, and it was ranked as the 4th best films of the last 10 years.
Well, for those who don't know, what Howard's referencing is every year at our film festival, we have just one film that we show on our opening night. That's our main lead feature, and it's what's profiled on all of our stuff. And we decided to show a film called Meek's Cut Off that is a rather obscure Western that was shot out in the Burns area about a decade ago. When we tried to do a virtual cast reunion, but some of the cast members either couldn't make it or forgot. And so we had one actor from the film join us, but it was still a fun conversation, I thought, to talk about the film. And it's You can find it in some various places if you look on demand or whatnot. It's a very slow Western. It's very much so a mood ambiance type film, as opposed to having a lot of action, but that also makes it really different from most Westerns. It's a really unique film. And I thought that it turned out really well on Friday, despite not having the whole cast join us. I still thought it was a pretty interesting event last September, showing that film and showing a Western that had a different look and feel from what we usually see in a typical Western.
Extraordinary style. It was marvelous.
Cool. Neil Kopp, he taught one of my classes at film school. He was a producer for that. He's a producer for Kelly Reichardt's, a lot of her films.
Yes.
So yeah, he's very cool.
Neil was the person that we initially contacted to get in touch with Kelly for it.
Okay.
But Kelly declined participating. She's kind of shy about doing live stuff, so she
Yeah.
didn't join us. But it was still fun and a very interesting film. For those who haven't seen it, would highly recommend it. And I see Wayne just joined us. Hey Wayne, how are you, sir? Why don't you?
Hey, sorry.
It's all good.
A friend of mine from high school had called and I was on the phone and completely forgot about this. Got here as soon as Tom warned me.
Quite all right. Why don't you introduce yourself for everybody?
Oh, hi, I'm Wayne Sweat. I'm the vice chair of Klamath Film. I am an actor. I've produced, directed, done about it, most everything, edited, and lighting and sound and the whole lot. Love to make movies, but really love it in front of the camera. That's just a gas. So.
Well, we were just getting rolling on things. I have some announcements, but was just asking if anyone has any sort of projects or anything upcoming that they're working on. So Wayne, do you have anything in the mix?
Well, there's a short, a couple shorts. One I can announce. It play the Frankenstein monster in that one. Another one that's in the works, be the voice of God. There's another project for Klamath Film. I don't know if is Court here.
Court is not here right now.
Oh,
No.
okay, I'll wait and Court can talk about that one. Another one with Court. Got some auditions out there I'm waiting to hear back on. One for a short film, one for a feature. There's some other stuff going too, but mine's racing. It's finally, thank God, after COVID hit and stopped everything, things are starting to pick up again. So very excited about that. Yeah.
We do have a couple of film projects that are looking to come to the area. We continue to have conversations with film crews that want to come. As I've been saying for a couple months now, there is a Netflix crew that's planning to shoot an environmental documentary here soon. There's a couple of feature-length films that we've had ongoing dialogue with that want to shoot in the area, and some shorts. Last year, we had 8 films shot in the Klamath Basin, which was a new record for us. And in fact, I just got an email today about the cast and crew watch party for one of those films that I was a part of, a film called The Private Dance that was shot in July and August of last year. Some at the Herald and News, and we also shot some of it downtown outside of Sugarman's Corner in the middle of the night. Our actress almost got run over by a car that decided to drive the wrong way down one of the one-way streets and drove right through the middle of our set while we were filming. Thankfully, we had 5 cameras aimed at her at the time. She was also nude, dancing in the middle of the street. So it made for an interesting moment at 2 a.m. outside of Sugarman's Corner while we were trying to film this nude dance scene. Also, before I delve into things, just in terms of general recommendations, there's an amazing documentary right now on Netflix called Winter on Fire. And it actually came out in 2015 and won an Academy Award in 2015. It is all about Ukraine's revolution when the people were trying to overthrow Yanukovych, who was a puppet dictator that Putin had installed. And it's very relevant today for obvious reasons of what's going on in the world, but it's also a good reminder that what's happening right now didn't just happen. It's been kind of years in the making of meddling, and this is sort of the next step in a long process of Russia trying to reclaim the Ukraine. So if you want to learn more about how we got to what's going on today, and if you have a Netflix subscription, I would highly recommend checking out the documentary film Winter on Fire. Does anyone else have any film recs or anything they saw recently that they just loved?
I want to double check. You said that was on Netflix?
It's on Netflix. It's called Winter on Fire, Ukraine's Fight for Freedom.
Okay. Yeah, I wrote it down. It's one of the
Excellent, excellent documentary that follows what happened in 2014 and 2015 in Ukraine. That, and also, if anyone loves musicals and you have Apple TV, I randomly stumbled across something called Schmigadoon. Has anyone heard of it? So if you have Apple TV, it's a 6-part miniseries that is both a parody and a loving tribute to Broadway musicals. Basically, when Broadway got shut down during COVID, they said, let's get every Broadway A-lister and figure out how we can still do a thing. And so produced by Lorne Michaels, it's got tons of great cameos, and it's the story of 2 doctors in New York where their relationship is kind of on the skids. And so they go on a couple's camping trip. They get lost in the woods and end up in Schmigadoon, which is this fantasy land, obviously a play on Brigadoon, that they can't get out of. And everyone in the world is a caricature of every Broadway musical character you can imagine, and everyone just randomly busts into song. They're singing around like, why is everyone singing? What's going on? We just want to go home. It's like if you took Sound of Music, Carousel, Oklahoma, Brigadoon, and probably 20 other Broadway musicals and just crushed them into a gigantic ball with some really brilliant musical numbers and great acting, and it's very, very funny. It's not that long. It's a 6-part miniseries. So if you get Apple TV, highly recommend. I thought it was hysterical. Schmigadoon. Okay. So with that, a couple of things to announce that are happening with Klamath Film. First of all, we have our first event coming up soon. Saturday, March 19th. This is a tradition that we have every single year right before the Academy Awards. We hold a screening of all of the short films, because everyone gets to see the big blockbuster movies and the indie artsy film that's up for 7 or 8 awards. But unless something gets picked up by Netflix or Amazon Prime, you never get to see the short films. And so it's just this kind of one mystery category. So we've had this tradition for many years where we do a one-night only screening of the animation and live action categories of Oscar-nominated short films. So we'll be doing that on Saturday, March 19th at Pelican Cinemas, starting at 6 p.m. Last year, we did an Oscar trivias competition and gave away little mini Oscars, and we will be doing that again this year. Cassidy, yeah, you wanted to talk.
Oh, yeah, I was just gonna throw in when you were done, but props to Joyce and Howard for putting up so many signs downtown. I've been in more businesses than I was expecting to this week, and I've just been very impressed by our presence. So shout out to y'all. And Kurt, thanks. I'm sure they're up at KCC, although I'm never down that way. And Bowen also helped with OIT and stuff. And I still have a bunch in my car that are going to find homes somewhere. So if you guys see a business that has not been posterized by us, let me know. But yeah, and then I was going to say something else that is not about Oscar shorts.
We have a ton of posters still to put up. I still need to canvas South 6th Street and Washburn. But yeah, downtown is at least covered. Thank you, Joyce and Howard, for putting in some steps to, I don't know if you have a Fitbit or not, but I'm sure you probably accumulated quite a few in putting those up. But this event is
Death required.
Yeah. This event is always a super fun thing. The program is a little over 3 hours long. So we'll be there till probably about 10 o'clock, maybe a little bit after that. It's only $10, or for those of you who have an active Klamath Film membership, you get 50% off. So just $5. And you'll get to see 10 films in all. So here are the 10 films that are nominated this year. We have 5 animation, which we'll show first, and then 5 live action. It does need to be noted that this program this year is a very hard R rating. There is nudity, there is sex, there is violence, there is language. It is not kid appropriate, okay? Even though it's animated, not kid appropriate. So keep that in mind. But we would love to have everyone there. Please help spread the word. It's a one night only thing. And then you get to see some of the films that'll be up for the Academy Awards and maybe walk away with your own little mini Oscar trophy. So we have other events throughout the year planned. Normally we do maybe 3 to 4 different special screenings throughout the year. We do a summer film camp for youth every summer. Of course, we put on the annual Klamath Independent Film Festival. And Cassie right now is working on an Earth Day thing. You want to talk about that a bit?
Yes, I'm so excited. Everyone, our first annual Earth Day screening is going to be Friday, April 22nd at the Fable Museum. Tentative times are 6 to 9 p.m. right now. And I'm trying to set up some raffle prizes and have a few like sponsored food and drink and things like that. Right now we have a few films in the works. I don't want to speak until anything's confirmed, but it will definitely be worth your time. Similar pricing to Oscar shorts, and should be a really good crowd and a really good vibe at the Fable Museum, and hopefully to see everyone together. And yeah, I'm really excited about it. Earth Day, woo, 2022.
Are the films going to be kind of environmentally oriented? I take it,
Yes,
of course.
they will be. Yeah, the theme is invest in our planet. So we're gonna kind of try and roll with that a little bit.
We need to line up, and Cassie, I can send you more info about it. At last year's film festival, one of our award winners was an environmental documentary all about the dam removal and the downriver water effects. So we can get in touch with Shane Anderson and see if we can show his film again.
I sent him an email today and I was just like, whatever. Yeah, because I love Pacific Rivers. They do awesome work. And so yeah, good stuff, Kurt. Let's get on it.
Yeah. Shane's a great guy. We gave him a little fish trophy for those of you who attended KIF last year. So every year, our one thing that makes our film festival stand out from the crowd, since we are the Made in Oregon Film Fest, is we make all of our trophies as Made in Oregon. And every festival has their own little awards or plaques or whatever. But thanks to the local Southern Cascade Woodcrafters Guild here in Klamath, who do extraordinary woodworking work, we get all of our trophies made in local native Oregon woods, and they all make their trophies specific to each film. So every winner gets a one-of-a-kind art piece. So his film was a fish trophy, which looked super cool. All the trophies every year are amazing. So that's coming up in March and April. We'll have some screenings. And as soon as we know, as far as casting calls or crew calls for upcoming films, we will, of course, blast out emails. Some of you may have been involved in the casting calls that happened last weekend for a narrative short that's going to be shot here in town, a murder mystery film that Nick Alexander is making, who's a former board member and a former award winner at our film festival. His documentary, Illegal, won Best Feature in 2020. So this is his first narrative film that he's making, but he does tons of commercial work all over town. So if you see any commercial work done in Klamath, chances are it was either Nick or myself that probably made it. So,
Yeah, I remembered something else.
Yeah.
Another project you'd asked about things I was involved in. There's we shot a trailer for a web series, January, I believe it was, of 2020. We got the trailer made and COVID hit and everything shut down. And all those projects I was involved in shut down. I talked to the producer recently. When we originally shot it, I was cast as a supporting role, but he absolutely loved my performance. He's seen me in 3 feature films already, but he absolutely loved what I brought to this character and to this project, and wants to get it going again, but this time with me in a lead role. So I guess I can thank COVID for that, huh?
That's fantastic. Yeah.
Hey, Kirk,
Yes.
you were talking about Schmigadoon. While we were talking here, I just went on my other computer and I looked it up on YouTube, and there's all kinds of clips. I got to check this out after we're done.
It's hilarious. If you love Broadway musicals, or if you love really talented people making fun of Broadway musicals, but in the same time being like a loving tribute, and it's odd, it's weird, but it's hilarious. I laughed hysterically, and then immediately turned around and forced my girlfriend to sit down and watch it, and we basically binged it in one night, and she was like, "This is so good." way past her bedtime. I was like, I have to keep watching the rest of this thing. It
Well,
was
I don't see the whole thing here, but there is one set where there's 47 different clips on it. So that's probably
Yeah.
pretty much the movie.
Yeah, so if you want a taste of it, go on YouTube, I guess. It's got Keegan Michael Key in it. Martin Short makes a cameo. Let's see, who else is in it? Fred Armisen is in it. And a bunch of Broadway superstars that are in every musical you can imagine in New York that all worked on this thing. It's fantastic. So highly recommend that. With that, I want to point out in the chat is the link to get tickets. Now, the theater that we're showing it at has only 125 seats capacity, so tickets are going to be limited. So I highly recommend buying tickets in advance. So if you want to join us for Oscar Shorts, the link is right there. If you're an active member, it's only $5. If you are not an active member, $10 is still very reasonable for over 3 hours of films and a bunch of films you won't get to see anywhere else. So with that, I want to show you the trailer so you can get a sense of some of the films that we are going to be seeing. Hopefully you'll be able to hear the volume. I never really know with this. So here we go.
Kind of have to, I think.
There you go. Quick taste of some of the films that we'll be watching on March 19th. So please come join us if you can over at Pelican Cinemas. We talked about Earth Day. So the other major announcement that I have that ties in with what Tom was talking about with Trans World, major announcement, and we haven't made it public yet until today. Klamath Community College will be hosting its first annual Comic-Con on Friday, May 13th, Friday the 13th. So it's going to be horror themed, family friendly, but horror themed. We're hoping we get thousands of people out to KCC. There's going to be video games, board games. We have a full motion flight sim, full motion trucking sim, virtual reality, guided Dungeons and Dragons tours, Pokemon trading, vendors, all sorts of stuff. And we're going to be having some Q&As, including with, for those of you who've been with us for a long time, my buddy Patrick Casey is going to be joining us. He's a Hollywood screenwriter. He's the writer of the Sonic the Hedgehog movies. So he'll be joining us to talk about Sonic the Hedgehog, his new project. Right now, he's in the middle of writing Ace Ventura 3. He's also done animated shows for Fox and a bunch of different movies. So Patrick will be joining us. I'm working on a major Hollywood actor that might join us, who's appeared in some comic book films. And coming down from Portland will be Jesse Blanchard. Some of you may remember Jesse from our November meeting, the puppet guy. The guy who made Frank and Zed is coming down. Frank and Zed is an all puppet horror comedy film that we gave an award to at our 2020 Film Festival, even though we couldn't show it because of some things going on in the background. So for 2 years now, people have been bugging me, when do we get to see Frank and Zed? We're going to get to see Frank and Zed. So Jesse's coming down to lead a puppetry workshop at Comic-Con on Friday the 13th. And so he'll be teaching people how to make their own puppets. For those of you who joined our meeting in November and loved seeing the puppets and how he was basically making them out of garbage and making them look like these incredible monsters, you'll get a chance to make your own puppets with Jesse, and he'll show you how to do all that. We'll probably do a Q&A, show some snippets. And then on Saturday, May 14th, we're going to be showing Frank and Zed at the Ross Raglan Theater.
Cool.
So finally.
Do we have to bring our own garbage?
we will have plenty of supplies there. So our
You
comic.
go dumpster diving.
Yeah.
I'm getting creative.
Well, I remember like he brought in some puppets that he used in the film and he flipped them around. It was like a Huggies box that he made like fish out of and stuff. So he's coming down. He's going to spend a couple days here in town with us. He's very excited about it. Do a workshop, do a Q&A. Maybe we'll show his short film Shine during the Comic-Con. And then the next day, Klamath Film is going to put on a screening of Frank and Zed in collaboration with KCC at the Ross Raglan Theater Saturday night on May 14th. So very, very, very excited about that because people have been bugging me. When do we get to see Frank and Zed? Man, it seems like forever. So there's Jesse and there's Frank, for those of you who need a quick refresher, and his crazy, crazy film, Frank and Zed. Now, if you imagine all the old 30s and 40s Universal monster movies, Dracula, the Wolfman, the Invisible Man, the Mummy, and then how they were so lovingly parodied in the film Young Frankenstein. Imagine if you took Young Frankenstein and it was done entirely by the people who made The Dark Crystal. And you get Frank and Zed. It's a film that took 7 years for him to make in his garage in Portland with his buddies. And it's been making the rounds at a few horror festivals, but largely it hasn't gotten distribution yet. And so this has been several years in the making since he finished the film of getting it out in public. But he's ready to show it to us now in Klamath. He's very excited and I'm very excited. And we're going to have some special decorations there thanks to Mac McCune and our friends at Nerds R Us, of which Tom works with very closely because you're heading off to Transworld with him to go buy some monsters that we may have on display at our Comic-Con and also Saturday night for the Frank and Zed screening.
Oh, Transworld, Transylvania. Okay, I was in another place altogether.
So Tom, you help out with the escape rooms in town that Mac also runs, right? And
That's true. We've got 3 of them. There's a small pirate escape room, takes a half an hour, and it's an easy one. It's built more for kids than anything else. And then we have the zombie apocalypse room, which only about 15% make it out. You give it an hour to try and figure out how to get out. And then our newest one, which is only 4 months old, is called Murphy's Mansion. And it's a haunted mansion where the ghosts are trapped. And you try to free the ghost by finding the way out. Only one group has made it out so far. And it's a lot of fun. We're located down at, 427 Main Street. Right across the street, basically, from Black Dog and next door to Wong's. And you need to call by appointment. We're online. Look for Monster Max Escape Rooms on Facebook or wherever. It's a lot of fun. I enjoy doing these things and having a good time with everybody down there.
Well, we'll be promoting the escape rooms at Comic-Con. I've been talking to Mac over the last couple of days to make sure that we have his participation, because since it's Friday the 13th when we're doing our Comic-Con, we had to get Mac involved. There's no way we could do Friday the 13th event and not have him involved in some way. And so we'll try to get some of the monsters out for our Comic-Con event. But I'm very excited about that. For those who have heard me babbling on about Frank and Zed for several years now, you will finally get to see this film. So hopefully you can join us on May 14th as well as on March 19th.
March 19th, Mac and I are in St. Louis, so you've got to postpone the whole Oscar thing a week.
You know, I wanted to do it on Saturday, March 26th, the day before the Oscars, but somebody put on a massive comedy show at the Raglan that same night, and I'm not going to even attempt to try to compete with that. So we had to bump it a week earlier. Plus, I work at all of the comedy shows anyway, so I couldn't have been at the theater if we were trying to do it anyway. So, yeah, for a side note, we've been getting some amazing comics coming to town every single month, and we're very appreciative of that. Thanks to the folks at Retro Room Records. They've been doing that. And their next one is end of March 26th will be their next one. So the night before the Academy Awards.
Hey, Kurt, could you give us a quick recap of the Farley comic? I couldn't make it because I had to go take my mom to be laid to rest, but I just curious how that all.
So they've done let's see here, 2 of these comedy nights so far, and they've been some of the biggest audiences that the Ragland has seen in the last 6 or 7 years. They've been getting to the point where they're almost selling out the Ragland, which is
That's when I
very,
stopped acting.
very great to see. So we've been live streaming some of them. We did not live stream the Farley one just out of a contractual issue. We will most likely stream most of the shows going forward. So that's what I do, is I take care of all of the video side of the shows. So we make the show available for live streaming if you can't make it in person, and it's available on demand for usually 2 weeks afterwards. So you can go back and watch the show at your convenience as well. The Farley show went great, I thought. Jimmy Turner and Hurricane Andrew hosted once again, as they will every single month. Mike E. Winfield was the feature act, who was hilarious. He was great. Like, some people were saying, like, he needs to come back and be a headliner for these things sometimes. He was absolutely hilarious. And then Kevin Farley, I thought was really funny. The crowd seemed to be really into it. I thought it was great. It was also nice that this was the first show where the comics were allowed a little bit more leniency. The early shows, they were still being kind of PG-13-ish. So like when there were some hecklers or whatnot, they just kind of had to roll with it. But it was totally no holds barred. So it not for the faint of heart, or those who are easily clutching pearls when you hear some language or some vulgar content. But I thought it was great. Did anyone else get a chance to attend? Olivia, I think you were there, right?
I was there. Yeah, it was really good. Yeah, Mike Winfield, he was like one of definitely the highlights. He was hilarious. And yeah, I think it was the first show where people could cuss and like say dirty things. So I think the audience had a lot of fun too. It was really exciting.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that answers that. The next one's going to be March 26th. So if you can make it, come on out. It should be fun. I want to get into Cassidy's film. Cassidy has made about a 4-minute long film. That's an environmental film. I already gave her a little bit of feedback when I first joined on, but every now and then we show short films that members have created in these meetings, just so people can get some feedback, get some ideas of what they liked, what they didn't like, suggestions for maybe changes that could be made. So Cassie, do you want to introduce your film before we delve into it?
Sure, yeah. So first short film, it is about the River Democracy Act. I'm not sure if anyone here has heard of that, but that was the largest wild and scenic rivers bill that's been introduced to Congress, and it's all Oregon, all Oregonians nominated. So that's kind of where the democracy comes in, is that it was nominated by people of the state for rivers and streams that they really love and appreciate. So kind of about those special characteristics of those, and if it passes, it'll add over 4,700 miles of streams to be protected, which can also help with like wildfire prevention and things like that. So pretty cool. I hope it gets passed. It'll be a few years if it does, just because that's how legislation works.
When you say protected, what does protected mean? You can't put a boat on it, or?
Oh, no, you can, a lot of wild and scenic rivers do have like rafting excursions and boating. It is for still public use, but the wild and scenic rivers, it's kind of more managed so that they can be like protected for future generations, basically. So no damming of it, no like utilities to be built on it, especially if it's like kind of scenic. There won't be like.
Can you have a motorboat?
Sorry?
Can you have a motorboat?
On some wild and scenic rivers, I'm pretty sure. It just totally depends on what it was like nominated for, basically. So it kind of depends on which values it holds. But if it's recreational, a lot of it has like amazing recreation. So like boats will go on it, or, for fishing and things like that. So yeah, and that was actually before I worked at my current job. I was the National Park Service Wild and Scenic Rivers like communications fellow. So that's kind of my tie to wild and scenic rivers.
I think depth also plays a part in that way, and unless you want to lose your prop.
Yes, definitely
Minor
depends on the
details.
depth. Yeah, some of these creeks aren't even like 3 feet deep, so it just really depends.
You may want to put an inflatable raft in there, not a motorboat. So yeah, or a kayak to pull out a kayak.
When I guess you could call it rafting on an air mattress with my wife at the time and a beer cooler that floated along with us. That was a fun trip.
That's awesome.
So with that, I'm going to share my screen so that we can check out Cassidy's film. Be ready for feedback and discussion. It's okay to point out, hey, you need to correct this. I already told her there's a typo. So,
Please do.
we want feedback with these. We want to hear, if you liked it, wonderful. But if there's an aspect that you think that maybe Cassidy can improve or change, this is an opportunity to get feedback from people in the know so she can make her film better. So with that also, with that also, I'd like to request that everyone please mute themselves so that everyone can hear the sound. So please mute yourself and we'll come back on shortly.
That you get the opportunity to directly contribute to legislation in that way, right? Like you can have a meeting with a congressional representative or a senator and say, I have concerns, but it's very unlikely that, or it's super uncommon that you get the chance to actually directly say, here is a place that I think is really important, here's why. I hope that you'll include it in a bill that you're putting together. It's like unique. I'm Jamie Dawson. I'm the public lands campaigner for Oregon Wild, and I have the honor and challenge of trying to help get the River Democracy Act across the finish line as a passed bill in Congress. A lot of things that I get excited about this bill, but I think one in particular is just that public lands are already shared by all Americans, and getting a river designated as wild and scenic, kind of writes in stone the reasons why certain rivers are really important, and it ensures that those rivers are going to be protected for those values forever, like beyond my life, beyond your life, beyond this eagle's life that's like flying over my head right now. I mean, it's a forever protection, which is really hard to come by these days. I mean, you don't get that hardly anywhere. I mean, right now we have 2% of Oregon's rivers protected as well as state. After this bill, we'll maybe hit 6%. To set aside 6% of Oregon's rivers for every future Oregonian, that is something that I get really jazzed about. Thinking about what role wild and scenic rivers and the protection of wild and scenic rivers can play in fighting climate change, for example, at least in Oregon, is enormous. I mean, we have data coming out of Oregon State University showing that, especially our west side forests, can sequester the amount of carbon that is like on par or exceeds the amount of carbon that can be sequestered in tropical forests like Central South America. So in terms of a tool that can be used to mitigate and fight climate change, protecting forests, especially streamside forests where some of our biggest, oldest trees grow, that's a huge tool that we have in our back pocket. And if we choose to deploy it, we can make a big difference. But we have to do it.
Okay, you can all unmute yourselves now. So what did we think of Cassidy's film?
Pretty good.
Could everyone hear it okay? I'm always worried because I have to jump through some loopholes to get audio to come across in Zoom when I'm playing video.
It was a little problematic. I was getting like an echo effect a little bit,
Okay.
and it was kind of cutting out a little more towards the end.
I think I need to mute my mic when the film plays because it may be duplicate sound inputs, but it's better than no sound. So I apologize if that was messing up a little bit. One thing I noticed, Cassidy, on the second viewing is that some of the text on screen, particularly early on, starts to blend into the environment a little bit.
With the light.
Yeah, a real easy fix for that is to add a drop shadow to all of your text. It doesn't have to have much depth, but even just a couple pixels of drop shadow will make all of the text stand out from the environment and make it a lot easier to read. So I would recommend across the board in the entire film, just putting a drop shadow effect on every single text.
I didn't even know that was a thing, but I was trying to figure out how to fix that today. So that's awesome.
I would hold the text a little bit longer on the second to last screen of text because you had like 2 paragraphs there.
Okay.
And I couldn't finish reading the second paragraph, and yet the next screen was single paragraph seemed to go a lot longer than the one previous that had 2. I was like, okay.
Thank you, John. Yeah, I appreciate that. I feel like since I typed it out, I never really know how long to leave it for.
No, yeah, well, just sit there and try to read it like you're an old person, then you'll get the idea. But I don't know. This is just one other thing that kind of just stuck out at me. Like earlier on, you're showing the screen, and then all of a sudden I see a couple of butt cheeks walking down. I'm like, well, that's nice. and then you finally stoop down and do stuff in the water. But I was just like, I would have more expected somebody to be following you, waist up and followed you as you squat down rather than just seeing your bottom half. I mean, I'm just saying it was just like, that's an interesting choice for what to show on the camera right there.
Well, it's about
Not saying it's bad. I'm
right?
just saying it was just I just was a little bit like, that's interesting.
You may want to slightly recut that one scene, either shorten that shot a little bit, or if you have an alternative view, because it is noticeable that Jamie, you're basically just seeing her ass. Like it's like fish, trees, nice. Jamie's ass, and then
okay, noted. I would not have thought of that. So thank you. That's nice to have that perspective.
It wasn't objectionable.
Yeah. I mean, it's just. I was just like, well, that's a very interesting choice for the camera angle. I was just like, okay.
Maybe I missed it, but she holds up a seed at one point. Was
Yeah.
there an audio that explained what she was holding and what it would grow into?
No, there wasn't. I just liked her smile and like
It's
excitement
a great smile, and
about
it's a nice composition. However, what is she holding? Some people could think it's a pebble. Other people could probably figure out it's a seed. But what does that seed grow into? Such a small thing can grow into a massive tree.
Well, that's really interesting, Tom, because when I saw that, I thought she'd pulled it off the rock that was under the water, and I thought it was like a little mollusk or something that was going to grow up bigger. I thought it was
it's-
some sort
it's
of living thing.
It's a bug. It's a bug that goes.
See, I
grows
thought it
in
was
the
a
water.
seed. You know,
So there you go. Yeah.
So for the underwater shots, did you use a GoPro for that, or did you use a waterproof case for a DSLR, or what would you do?
Yeah, waterproof cases are more expensive than my camera. So yeah, it was
Wow.
definitely a GoPro.
Not necessarily. I had a waterproof case for a DSLR that I use for scuba diving. It's fairly
Yeah, I have a mirrorless, and for Sony, they're like $2,000 and up. So I didn't even know where to start with that.
It comes down to how much faith you have in the case when you first dip your very expensive camera and lens underwater. To that first time you do that is like, okay, is this actually going to, or am I destroying my really nice camera and lens for the sake of going with the cheaper waterproof case on this?
I got mine from a scuba shop over in Medford, so I really didn't have that concern. worked out fine.
Well,
Anyone
maybe
else?
go check us out and see if your camera actually fits in that one. Who knows?
Anyone else have some feedback for Cassidy?
Yeah. I think my favorite parts of it were like the shots of what's her name, Jamie?
Yeah, Jamie.
Yeah, she just like so enthusiastic and excited and passionate, and that like makes me like, oh, like this is like really important, and just like the way she talks about it, it like makes me think like, oh yes, this is important. So I think those are the highlights where her I think the drone shots were like beautiful. Is like the purpose of it to inspire people to be passionate about this as well.
Yeah, just to kind of raise awareness for
Yeah.
it. But yeah, I also like Jamie's shots too the most, I'd say. I think
Yeah.
it's just always fun when you talk to someone passionate about something.
Of course, that's what I remember most, just like her just like being excited. But also I think some sort of like call to action at the end, like go to like this website or something that like inspires people to want to keep knowing more or helping out in some way would be good.
Awesome. Thanks,
you
Olivia,
just-
for the feedback.
You just gave me an idea too. It's like we're talking about all these rivers and streams, but yet where are they? You know, a map shot, and you kind of maybe do the highlight outlines of where they go and the different areas. That way people can see is if it's something that's near them that they might be interested in you know, supporting, etc. You know, because sometimes when it's like on the other side of the state, people are like, well, I don't care, you know, I'm not going to use it. So I don't know if that would, I just think that might be good in general, just to give them an idea of where you're really going to be working at. I know
I also
if
agree on
there's 14,000, I know that's or however many that you're going to do, that's a lot, but I know something.
Put a red square around the state.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you could do like a breakdown by county, or I mean, there's a lot of ways you could approach it when you have that many that you're dealing with, but or just kind of pick out some of the major ones. I don't know. I'm just putting it out there so people kind of get an idea of the scope. Otherwise, it's just a number and they don't know how to relate it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think visuals, I was a GIS like mapping person for 2 years. And so I always worked very well with like large scale visuals and stuff. And I just wasn't sure how to do that yet. I'm still learning like the program and stuff, but I think that's a great point, John. I'm glad that you noticed that too, that was like something that was missing in it.
Well, when she mentioned the other thing, it just kind of, you know, the wheels turn, but they take a little while to turn.
I'm with you.
We had a couple of rack shots in there that were really nice and sweet. It showed the depth to the forests, you know.
Yeah.
So those were nice. I like those.
If you don't want to delve too much into animation software and After Effects, if nothing else, you could just use Google Maps and do a screen capture on that and just throw that in. I agree with Tom though. I thought what really stood out in the film, outside of Jamie's enthusiasm, is your select focus shots. Some of the cinematography when you're using a soft focal lens and using really short range of depth looked really nice. And there was some really nice smooth camera movement in with those shots too, where you were transitioning from like far off tree branches up to up close and then blurring out the background. Those soft focal shots that you incorporated into the film looked really, really nice. So good job on those.
Thanks, Kurt. That means a lot. I appreciate it.
Aw.
Good job.
All right.
Tiffany.
Thank you, Joyce. Thank you so much for the feedback, everyone. I really
I
appreciate
have one
y'all
last
taking the
question,
time
Elise.
to watch it.
What is your perceived viewing market for this? What audience are you trying to hit?
Well, there's an
Yeah,
Earth
this
Day
is-
event happening in April that
Well, maybe, I know. I was gonna, when this was the first version, kind of like my rough draft, I'm gonna take y'all's comments and then I'm gonna send it to Jamie and see if Oregon Wild wants to distribute it through their market. And but she'll probably let me know about a call to action, like somewhere on their website to thank the senators, like a link to that. But just wanted to be sure to check with her that that's something that they would still be interested in or wanted, because I actually shot it towards the end of the summer where all the smoke at the end that's on the Fall River near Bend. And then lost my dad, and so I just jumped back into the project. And so I'm not even sure if they're still interested in it or not, because it's been so long on my end that I haven't sent it to them. So I'm kind of hoping that it's still something. But yeah, so that's kind of the market, is, you know, just seeing if they wanted it.
Well, I'd like to add just one last thing, because at that last shot, I was just like, are you trying to, is this a picture of a forest fire smoke, or is this misty forest in the morning or something? Because I was like, this looks like forest fire, but I mean, it might be good to put a little subtext somewhere to say, you know, like the forest fire, you know, like how this might, you know, these things are here to help these kind of things, like this forest fire at this date in this area. Or I mean, just something small. But I was just kind of like, I wasn't quite sure what I was looking at exactly. I thought you know, I was like, is it one or the other? I
Yeah.
wasn't quite, you know.
Well, thanks, John, for that. I really struggled with the words so much more than I was expecting, like the text and stuff, and like how to incorporate the wildfire and like what shot was going on. And I was like, I worked as a writer for like 9 months, and I literally was like, the words are the hardest part right now. But yeah, that's a great point, and I think that really does, because you never know in Oregon if it's mist or,
Well,
or
I
fire.
was just thinking, even if you just had it like in the bottom right, you know, it's like this, you know, this forest fire, you know,
Yeah.
and the year, or the, you know, like month or year, just something small, just so people know that we're depicting a forest fire, and this is something that could be helped by this kind of project, having these things not get destroyed, but be resources to help
maybe
fight these
like
things.
August 2021, smoke along the Fall River. Or
Yeah,
something
yeah,
like that.
exactly.
Just
Just
simple.
something like that.
But at the
It's
same
been-
time, fires are a natural force to restart, rekindle new growth. It's needed, so don't play it as an evil, you know, especially if it's a natural fire. If it's man-made, that's another thing, but you got to remember, this is a balancing act in nature. A lot
Right.
of trees won't grow again from seed unless they have fire. So
Well,
keep that in mind.
you know, it's interesting, Tom, that you bring that up, because, you know, with my relatives that lost a home in the Santa Rosa fire
Yeah.
that went through there, you know, one of the problems they were having is that the Forest Service would be, you know, working on the brush and cutting, you know, taking that stuff out so that they wouldn't have these forest fires blow through like they could. But then the environmentalists came in and said, no, no, let the forest be natural, da 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 da.
Right.
And it's like, then these things weren't happening, which made this thing a much bigger powder keg.
Yes.
So in some ways, maybe a little bit of footage of showing Forest Service people, you know, doing regular maintenance, like removing brush or doing controlled burns and stuff, you know, and showing that, you know, we do these things in order to help prevent big forest fires from happening, you know, and, you know, showing it from both sides. Yeah.
Yeah. There's so much with wildfires
Right.
that it would be an insanely long film if
Like,
you
well,
touched
like,
on everything.
my-
But I definitely see what you're saying.
I mean, John, my concern with that is that that might be getting a little bit off topic from what the point of the film is. It's not necessarily about wildfires. Yes, that's a factor, but that might detract, it might dilute the message
No,
that
no, you're right. You're
Cass
right.
is trying to present. I mean,
But
that is a whole other topic that you could delve into several hours worth of documentary content on.
Yeah, but maybe something, because, you know, when you do protect a wild and scenic river, the forests for half a mile on both sides are going to be managed to get rid of that brush and to help prevent wildfires and stuff like that. So, you know, great comments for sure.
Well, I noticed you had some footage along what looked like Spring Creek
Williamson River.
by Collier. And if you go up there now, the north side of the creek is totally destroyed, but the right side, which where all the cabins and things are pretty much weren't touched. The creek saved the logging museum.
Wow.
Just a point, they only lost one structure
Yep.
that I'm aware of, but the ground is completely scorched on the north side of the river. And it's like I said, you can get some shots of the scorched river right there with the burned out forest right behind it, and slip that in with a quick comment that it's all part of nature to a degree. Your call, of course.
So Cassidy did have one shot in there where you could see that a little bit. You couldn't get the full scope of the fire on one side, but you could at least see the highway and a little bit of the burned area. I flew my drone in that area not too long after the fire, but I went a little bit higher so I could get the full landscape shot and get the contrast of highway, creek, totally green on one side and totally devastated, destroyed on the opposite side, with the highway being the separator. That might be a little bit more impactful. I'm not sure where you got that footage. Cassie, did you do the drone flying, or did you hire someone out for it, or?
No, all that was me, everything. But it's funny you mentioned that, Kurt, because the reason I was flying low was because I didn't know if I was allowed to fly there. I was literally like, I got so nervous because I got like an info that I was close to an airport, and I was pretty sure that I was allowed to fly there.
So Chiloquin is a Class G uncontrolled airport, which means it's uncontrolled airspace. So you are allowed to fly there. However, you're supposed to have a altitude restriction within 5 miles circular from the airport's center. Collier is right on the edge of that. So if you are flying, as long as you don't go too far south back towards Chiloquin, you're okay. That's Class G uncontrolled airspace. However, if you are the one who's doing the drone flying, do you have a Part 107 commercial drone license?
Not commercial, because I don't do commercial work.
Well, if this film is ever posted on YouTube, if this film is ever presented at an event, it is considered by the FAA standards commercial. If
I don't make money on it,
if there's even the prospect of being able to make even 1 penny on it, if it's posted on YouTube and it could be monetized through pre-roll or post-roll ads, it is considered commercial, and you must have a Part 107 license in order to shoot that. Just warning you, because I am the FAA safety team drone specialist for Southern Oregon, which means I'm the resident narc who's supposed to report to the FAA when I see footage that is being shot illegally.
well, I didn't shoot any of that, so I don't know.
So
Found footage.
yeah. The
You
drone,
jumping up and down and holding the camera.
right.
That's
The drone
crazy.
footage you shot is beautiful and it's well done. But just be wary that if you are going to be doing drone footage for film projects, and this is true for anyone here as an FYI, because a lot of people don't know this. If there is any chance that your footage can be monetized, meaning if you're posting it on YouTube and there's a commercial that runs, when people watch it beforehand, even if you may not see a single penny, it is considered commercial at that point, and you must have a Part 107 commercial drone license. Now, the good news on that is that before you used to have to travel to Bend to take the written exam, but KCC just got approved as an FAA testing center. So take a couple of weeks, Cassidy, do a little bit of studying. I can even help you on it if need be, and go in and take the written exam. And then there's
How
no
expensive is that?
It used to be $125 to take the exam. I think that the FAA has now waived that price, but I will double check. So I don't want to come across like don't fly, this is controlled airspace, but the FAA's number one concern is safety, right? They don't want to see a drone getting sucked into the air intake of an F-15. That would be a very, very, very bad day for Klamath Falls. So sorry to say, Klamath has one of the most restrictive airspaces in the entire country for drones. And the reason for that is because of Kingsley Air Base. We have a lot of military traffic, and they do not want the drones mixing with the military air traffic. So we have a lot of rules, and most people who are flying around here, unfortunately, don't know the rules. Drones get marketed as being toys, toys for big kids. I'll get my snowmobile and I'll get a drone. And they don't realize if you're flying 1 inch off the ground, you are now in federal controlled airspace. And you are subject to all of the rules of airplanes, helicopters, hot air balloons, gliders. If your aircraft weighs more than 0.55 pounds, which is half a pound is nothing. I mean, this cup probably weighs half a pound. Your aircraft is regulated by the FAA and must be licensed, must be registered. And if you are doing anything that could be considered commercial, even if you're just, hey, I'm flying around just for the hell of it, and this is cool, I'm flying over my property, and then I'm going to post on YouTube. If you post on YouTube, it could be commercialized, and you could get a phone call or angry email from the FAA. I'm not going to report you. I'm just.
I was with
letting
the
you
drone
know,
pilot. I
as-
was learning.
As your friendly neighborhood FAA safety team drone specialist for Southern Oregon, I am obligated to educate people on what the rules are so that everyone can fly safely.
I
Okay?
appreciate it because I did not know that about the money thing. I was like, this is a free video that I'm just volunteering for, but checks out.
And if you don't know about altitudes, FAAdronezone.gov has the drone zone maps for the entire continental US, where you can look up the exact GPS, or you can just zoom in just like Google Maps and look exactly where you're flying. Normally the standard altitude is 400 feet, but if there is a reduced altitude, or a restricted airspace, it will list it on those maps. So you can look in advance before you go fly and just see, is this area restricted, or does it have a seal? Like if you try to fly around Oregon Tech, for example, it's right outside of the Class D airspace for Kingsley Field, but there's a heliport at the hospital right next door. So it's very restricted. There's some spots, depending on where you're at, you can only fly 50 feet or 100 feet because they don't want you interrupting emergency airlink flights with the helicopter coming in and out. You flying your drone thinking it's cool to fly over campus could be possibly a life or death situation for someone in that helicopter. So there's reasons behind it. So just plan in advance anytime that you're going to fly. The test is not that difficult, but you do need to do some studying. I have some materials I can pass your way if need be, but I would highly recommend, if you want to use your drone for film projects, please get your Part 107 license.
Once you get that, how long is it good for?
It's good for 2 years. So, and then you just have to go in and renew. So you just go in and retake the test over again. And once you learned it, you need to know some basics of meteorology. You need to know some basics of airspace and how to read air maps, and a little bit of aerodynamics. But it sounds complex, but once you delve into it, there's tons of YouTube videos. So, I mean, you can just go on YouTube and look up Part 107 test prep, and there'll be 1,000 videos that'll show you. They'll give you a lot of answers to the questions. So, and it's all multiple choice, but there's things you need to know about airspace and how to read an aeronautical chart, how, where you can and can't fly and how to look that up. The different parts of the FAR-M, the Federal Aviation Regulations and Aircraft Information Manual, you need to know as a drone pilot. Occasionally, I lead drone education programs as workshops for the community. So every now and then we'll do those as one-off events at the airport. And last year I taught a week-long drone camp at Oregon Tech. We may do that again this year. So for people who are interested in drones, I'm not saying don't fly. We want you to fly as a representative of the FAA. We just want you to do so safely and to know the rules and to know where and when you can fly. Does anyone else have a drone, by the way, outside of Cassidy?
I have a question though. I imagine the same rules apply to fixed wing aircraft as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So the standard is between anything that's under 0.55 pounds is considered a toy, and you can fly it wherever. I mean, that's a little teeny tiny thing you can buy probably at Fred Meyer and for $20 and go fly. We've all seen those little toys. Legitimate drones are 0.55 pounds up to 55 pounds. Anything over 55 pounds, and it has to be a special reg situation. There is a pilot here in town. He runs Three Rivers Vector and Mosquito Control. So he was the first drone pilot in the country that got special certification from the FAA to fly drones that emit mosquito like pellets, to try to keep down mosquito populations. Because before he used to go out and climb through the mud bogs and everything and spray, and now he can fly from dry land, just fly his special drone that has both spray and can shoot out pellets and keep his feet dry while he's just flying his drone over the various bogs where mosquitoes grow. So you can get special regs. Also, there's a lot of talk about drone delivery. Right now, everyone's thinking that's going to be the next thing is, your Amazon packages will be delivered by drone to your front doorstep. But there's a lot of issues as far as airspace goes with that they're still trying to work out. And I will say the drone regs are constantly changing. It's really hard to keep up with everything as far as rules for flying over people, rules or flying in controlled airspace versus uncontrolled airspace. Most of what we have around here is uncontrolled airspace. But just know within 5 miles of an airport center is controlled airspace. So that's basically all of Klamath Falls. So if you see someone flying a drone in Klamath Falls, either they have an airspace waiver like me to fly in specified areas, or they're flying illegally and need to be reported to the FAA. Or they don't know that they're flying illegally and are just doing it for fun because they went out and bought a drone thinking it was a big toy and don't realize that they qualify same as an airplane or a helicopter. I'll get off my pedestal, but just FYI, your drone shots were beautiful. Good job. Just please make sure that you're legal when doing so.
Oh. I'm aware of the whole, I don't even think it's gonna go, but I will get my license because I do want to do this further anyway. So there you go. I'll be your student, Kurt.
Yeah. If you want to be kind of wild west drone work, a lot of people don't realize they make underwater drones too. And there are no regulations for underwater drones. So if you want to, granted, I've dropped my submarine. I have what's called a Fish V6, which is a fully 360 underwater drone on about a 300-foot long tether. So it's not totally remote. There's a line that you run. Unfortunately, dropping it in Upper Klamath Lake, all I see is a big wall of green for the most part because of all of the algae. But taking
Then
it to
you wouldn't be the only underwater drone operator in the Klamath Basin. We can't take that title from you, Kurt. Come on.
But taking it
go to Rocky Point. At least the water gets clear as those rivers are coming in there.
Yeah. So places like Lake of the Woods or Crater Lake are really interesting to take it to. But I would suggest against Upper Klamath where there's a lot of algae. Can
you do drone work at Crater Lake, or is that?
No, okay. So now you can put the drone in the water. However, there's a 2,000-foot airspace restriction over national parks, including Crater Lake being a national park. And that's for all aircraft. So helicopters, airplanes have to maintain a 2,000-foot ceiling over the park. That's a problem because the FAA states that drones can't fly more than 400 feet above ground level. So by default, no drones can fly because they can't exceed to get up to that 2,000-foot elevation. Now, if you want to get a workaround to get some cool shots that look like drones on the rim of Crater Lake, if you're an active Klamath Film member, we do have an 8-foot jib that you can check out, and you can get some shots that look a lot like drones of just kind of those float down effects. So for those who don't know, Klamath Film has a very large collection of professional film equipment. And as long as you're an active member, which is only $25 a year, you can check out all of our film equipment for free at any time for film production needs.
Kurt, can you fly like a really long kite with a camera on it in a national park?
Now that's an interesting point because I have seen videos of people attaching GoPros to kites in restricted airspace. It's more of a gray area because if it's tethered, it's technically not flying. But anything that's reaching a certain altitude, you have to issue what's called a NOTAM, a notice to airmen. And that is basically a temporary announcement or temporary flight restriction that goes out across all of air traffic control to let all pilots know, hey, so like if say there's a tethered balloon that a car dealership is floating off of their lot to promote like a big sale and they have like a banner coming down off of it. If that tethered balloon is going up to like 75 or 100 feet up or more, they are required to issue a NOTAM. So they notify air traffic control, and air traffic control announces that within their airspace, caution, NOTAM, tethered balloon at such and such location, 3 miles northeast of airport, caution to airmen, tethered balloon up to 100 feet above car dealership. That comes in a recorded broadcast that every pilot listens to either before they take off or as they're approaching an airspace to know what's going on. So if someone flew a kite, depending on how high they're going, yes, you could attach a GoPro to a kite, but you may be getting into NOTAM territory where if there's a controlled airspace, you might have to notify them, hey, I'm flying a kite over Crater Lake if it's going to be on a really long line. Better safe than sorry, right? Some rangers might have some issues with that. I just went on a very long diatribe, and I'm sorry. This was probably super boring talking about drones, but does anyone have any other footage about Cassidy's film before we get on to Wayne and Tom's film?
The popcorn, I just put it in. It's got about 2 minutes left.
No?
No.
If not, then let's go into Report 72, which is a film that Tom and Wayne made. You want to give the introduction and explain a little bit of what we're about to see?
Go for it, Tom.
Well, this film took us a little while to make. I wrote the film basically when I was back in New Jersey. I guess 3.5 years ago is when I actually wrote the script. And I presented it, sent it to Wayne. He liked it. And to make a long story short, he started to produce it himself here in Klamath Falls. Meanwhile, I moved back here and I got to kick in and help with the camera work and the editing. David Reed, who was a member of our group, who just recently passed away, was a cameraman on it. And I kind of took over for him because he was always nice guy, but he was a bit of a novice. We shot most of it in Wayne's office downtown. And the biggest problem we had was right across the street from the street fair and the noise coming out of there. And then finally they ended one day and we're getting ready to shoot again. And what happens? But KU band, like just across the way, comes marching out going oompa, oompa, oompa. And we're going, great. And it stopped us again for another hour.
Don't forget the motorcycle rally.
We had a good time with it. Oh yeah, the motorcycle rally. So our biggest problem was really fighting the sound coming in that was not invited. And we learned a valuable lesson because when Wayne started it and I joined in, we didn't use a clapboard, bad boys. And when it came time to edit it, I had to literally go through every scene very meticulously and figure out which scene was where so I could put it back in the proper order and make notes and all this other kind of stuff. So always use a clapboard, okay? Wayne.
Well, yeah, you gave me that clapboard. Thank you. I will use it in the future. Yeah, and this, it's another, I've helped produce or what have you, 4 different short films, all ultra low budget. 3 of them were with a camera that I own personally that is a very inexpensive camera. And, I got a box light set and, just kind of making do. But the intent is to have fun first and foremost and practice our art, get better, enjoy it, and, kind of, I don't LA or anywhere like that as yet, any kind of big commercial artist or area, but doesn't mean that we can't have fun. So keep that in mind. Tom, you want to give a synopsis of the film real quick, or?
The film revolves around a billionaire whose father actually got involved with UFO projects back in the 40s. And he passed away and he passed his legacy on to his son. Do aliens exist? Are they really out there? And that's what this is all about, because this billionaire has spent a fortune. God, his popcorn. He's going through, he's got people working for him. Report 72 is the latest report that has come in to this billionaire character, played by Wayne, by the way. We had a lot of fun doing this. There were a couple of challenges, as we said, but we got her done. It's only about 20 minutes long, and I find it interesting. And I've worked with Wayne on several other projects in the past, and I hope to work with him on some more, and some of you as well. So, Kurt.
Okay, so with that, the film is 19 minutes long, so we'll come back a little right around 7:55 to wrap up our meeting. But everyone, please mute yourselves, and I will mute myself as well so we don't get the double sound. But let me know if you're not hearing anything too, so I could try to fix it. With that, let's check out Wayne and Tom's film, Report 72.
So that's it. Yes, sir. The think tank in Omaha reached the same conclusion as the ones in Tokyo and London. SAO. Already, SAO, South Africa. Yes, sir. South African astronomical territory.
Kurt, can you boost the sound? Boost it.
Down a little. This must be frustrating for you. You've worked on this for many years. That's an understatement. There's gotta be something out there. There's just too much evidence. Gosh. This book on my phone started on, man, back in 1947. General Tony that initiated the first official military investigation. Project Sign. They didn't even know what questions to ask. These were all top secret documents back then. It contained numerous unexplained sightings by pilots, scientists, and other so-called reliable witnesses. My father was contracted with the military back then. That's how he got this copy. Miss Fields, would you bring in the short project report, please? Thank you. You've been working on this for a long time? My father? He started search before either one of us were born. I've been working on this my whole life. He left. Right after the government announced the Project Sign was closed. No such things. Flying saucers, little green men from Mars. Explain to me why they will.
Here's the report you asked for, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Phyllis. Please, put it on the desk.
Is there anything else, Mr. Carter? Anything else I can do?
Yes, please sit down. Ms. Fields, you've been with me on this project for a couple of years now. You know what's going on. I'd like to hear what you have to say. We have some insight to ideas that I missed. What are you looking for? Right file is very small. As much as files as we can. And plus a rare photograph. Do you know who Kenneth Dr. Kenneth was? Yes. Shutter? Which explained to her who he was. I guess you could say that all of this really has a his life played near Mount Rainier, Washington in 1947 when he saw 9 objects traveling in formation with incredible rate of speed. He reported it to the press and described their motion as looking like saucers skipping on water. The press ran that as flying saucers. That's a rendering of what Arnold said the craft looked like. Yeah.
I see. So the press misquoted him. They don't look anything like flying saucers. But what about the Roswell incident?
Another cover up. It's a big one. The government almost blew it on that one, but it didn't take them long to throw dirt on it and cover it up. On weather rolling full. There's just too much evidence. Too many people have come forward with their stories to tell what they've seen. And that is just the tip of the governments. What is it, governments? England, Russia, Brazil, China, countries worldwide consider this. They blame these signs on strange weather, swamp gas. They even try to convince cities that the spectacle that they saw, UFOs dancing in the sky, some sort of BS. Here's to Dr. Frank Drake, who in 1961 formulated his equations. How many alien civilizations exist in our very own Milky Way galaxy?
So, according to the equation, how many alien civilizations should be out there?
Well, according to how many stars are in our galaxy, this analysis suggests there are roughly 120 million stars in our galaxy. And of those 120 million, with a B, stars, the Drake equation postulates that approximately 2 million planets host intelligent life. And of those 2 million planets, it estimates that between 10,000 and 100,000 civilizations have advanced to the point where they're sending signals into the void like we did first.
We did? When did we start sending signals into space?
Ever since the Italian inventor Marconi created the first wireless telegraph back in 1897. It was a weak signal, but still out there. Going farther every day. Next came voice radio. It became bedtime entertainment as the transmitters grew stronger. Next was pre-television signals. You know, right now, an alien could be watching the 1936 Berlin Games for the first time. With Adolf Hitler as the glory leader, the Fuhrer. You know, right now, between IET, could be trying to make sense of the I Love Lucy show. Or Gilligan's Island. Anyway. If they're out there and watching, you probably see us names. With all the war movies that we broadcast and the real news. Hell, you know, it seems that every time advanced aliens come to conquer us, we destroy them. I see it's dangerous. Signs to edge of our solar system that say danger, stay away. My father spent billions in the search for extraterrestrials. He made the largest sum of sales to the military, foreign governments. I've done the same thing. Spent billions. Most of my life. And I lost 3 wives. The search for extraterrestrial life. I'm obsessed. Obsessed. It's not over. There's got to be something out there. Just not looking in the right place. I want the 2 of you to take this emergency law office. It's an authorization for a new venture. I want to build rockets. We put satellites into Earth's orbit. Also, want to send something to space. I suspect that alien signals bouncing off the Earth's atmosphere. You know, it's magnetic field. I want to get both of this. I want both of you to deliver this to Mr. Ferguson personally. Take this to Mr. Ferguson. All right, that's what you want. What do you want to do on report number 72? Nothing. I want to look at it. I want to see if those videos belong on this. Trevor, I want you to see how long it takes to get the wheels rolling. Miss Fields, take those please. April, I want to get started on the next stage.
Let me get my jacket. All right, I have everything. Let's go. Are you all right? Is something wrong?
I don't know. Something doesn't feel right. I know the old man is loaded, but building rockets, sending satellites into space, that may be more than even he can handle. He knows it.
Hello, Mr. Parker.
What's happening?
Mr. Parker, I am called Tanabar.
Tanner,
Yes, sir. You see, I've been sent to take you to the stars, where you've always wanted to go.
you mean
Yes, sir. You see, we've been here all the while. The ETs, the aliens you've been searching for all this time. We've been here, waiting for you to discover us. Just been going about it all wrong. You see, we are transcendental, and now so are you. Come. It's time for us to leave and join the other races amongst the stars.
On
Oh, okay. So
it is 19 minutes long. On Netflix, there's a little lag and it's 27 minutes or Zoom.
okay, so I need to explain that it is extraordinarily complex to Zoom or to stream video on Zoom and get audio. Zoom is not built for that, so it has to run through 3 different software programs. And so that may be causing some lag with picture and some lag with audio. I apologize, but it is very difficult to get good, clean audio when trying to play a video through Zoom. It don't believe me, try it yourself and see how badly
Well,
it happens. So with that
and you're
in mind,
recording it on top of it.
yeah, and recording on top. So in the chat is the YouTube link to the film. If you want to watch it without issues, there's the YouTube link in the chat. Please check it out without all of the Zoom problems. I apologize if that presentation wasn't very good. It's running through Loopback and Ecamm and Zoom and recording in order to get the audio feed into Zoom. So try it yourself sometime. It is really hard to get video and audio on Zoom. They need to build that into the software, but they haven't gotten to that point yet. So there's the link. With that being said, please go back and look at it on YouTube where it's not messed up. But with it maybe being a little bit messed up, here's an opportunity for some feedback for Tom and Wayne. My first bit of feedback is, Tom, you misspelled copyright in the end credits.
I wasn't going to.
Speller. Okay, thanks.
Sorry. The other thing that I would note is in terms of audio, having watched this film a couple times, the mix between music and dialogue, the music is a little too high and that starts to obscure some of the dialogue. I realize that's really difficult because also this was shot over several months, right? So there were multiple takes, but the mix on that, the music could come down and the vocals could come up.
Yeah, I was noticing that the music was a bit hot even now as it was running, to the point where it was drowning out some of the dialogue. You know, I will have to go back and see if I can't level that off a little more. That's a very good point to consider.
Yeah, thank you.
It's a very fine balance, and it's just something that comes with kind of practice and tweaking software. Cassidy's film had this issue too, where in her film, when dialogue was moving straight to music, there's like a shelf, like it drops off immediately and you hear music and that becomes noticeable. You want to have nice, soft fade in, fade outs on the transition so that when you're going from dialogue and music to just music or just dialogue, that it's smooth in that movement. It's not sudden drop off. Because that kind of takes the viewer out of the experience when you pick up on those things. I mean, every film has flaws, right? Every film, there's something to fix, something to change, something you wish you'd done a little bit different, but you want to try to make those as subtle as possible so that we who are filmmakers are like, oh, well, that needed to do that, needed to do that. The general audience who's viewing it is just viewing it as a film, not listening to it and saying, oh, wow, you know, that's the big cutoff.
Well, I hope we could follow the storyline with the poor audio. It was really tough at the beginning. Did you tweak it a little bit or something?
I did. So some people were messaging me and I was trying to improve it on my end, but I think I might have just made it worse throughout the process. I apologize. Like I said, it is so hard to stream video and audio in sync over Zoom. I don't know why they made it so complex. I haven't thought of fixing that. But yeah, get an Ecamm account and loop back and then make them all play nice with Zoom in order to make it work.
Okay, the next film I'm going to put on DVD for you and you can run it straight from your system.
Does anyone else have feedback for Tom and Wayne?
I have to head out, but Tom and Wayne, so fun to watch. Thanks for sharing it. That was really cool, unique story. I thought it was fun to watch, and even with the audio issues, you could, I don't know, cool acting, good stuff. And Wayne, it's the first time I've seen you act before, so it was really cool and just so fun. I could tell you guys had a lot of good times with it.
Please watch it on YouTube. It's a different experience.
Absolutely, yeah. I'll show my husband tonight for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ignore the copyright screw up.
Yeah. That's I misspelled a senator's name, so I think it's. But anyway, so good to see you all tonight. Sorry, I have to head out. But anyway, talk soon, everyone.
Well, it is 8 o'clock. This is normally when we end our meetings. Thank you, everyone, for being here and for participating. Again, March 19th, we will be doing our Oscar Shorts program. May 13th, you'll be hearing a lot more about Klamath Comic-Con coming up at KCC. It should be super fun. Anyone have any final comments or anything that they want to share before we call it a night? And thank you for hanging with us for these 2 hours.
It was fun.
I suppose for Comic-Con, a person really should dress up. If they don't dress up, just don't come.
No. Everyone is welcome. We will have a costume contest, though. It depends on if you want to win a prize or not.
Oh, good.
Olivia, this was your first Klamath Film meeting. Do you enjoy it? You want to come back again and do some more of this?
Oh yeah, I'm really excited. Just to I love like seeing everyone's films, and I'm excited to see all the different things. I'm excited for this this puppet film. I already set it on my calendar. I'm excited to see it. I love puppet artistry like that, so I'm excited.
So if when we're done here, if you go on YouTube and look at or on Facebook and look up Puppet Core.
Puppet Core. Okay.
Puppet Core is Jesse Blanchard's company. And he has a short film he made called Shine that you can see that's on there. It's all about a barbershop quartet that's being tormented by some monster. We've watched it in past meetings before. So his whole film Shine is up there, and you can also find the trailer and some behind the scenes stuff for Frank and Zed. And we'll be showing that on Saturday, May 14th.
Perfect. Yeah, I'll be there. Definitely.
Okay.
And everybody click on the link or look up, go on YouTube and look up Report 72 Wayne Sweat and watch
Or-
it in real time. It's a
Or
lot.
Tom Cooley, report 72.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then next time you're on a Zoom call, try to play a video and notice everyone's going, what? Huh? Why is it so messed up?
No, nothing against you, Kurt. Nothing at all. It just, I understand Netflix doesn't have the bandwidth or the program for it. So it is what it is.
Anyone else have any final thoughts before we call it a night?
I'm good.
Okay, well, Mary Jane, John, Howard, Joyce, Olivia, Cassidy, Tom and Wayne, everyone, thank you so much for joining us. We do this the first Thursday of every month, so please come back and hopefully we'll see you at the Pelican Cinemas on March 19th for the Oscar shorts.
Great. Thanks, Kurt.
Good all.
Night, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.